Probably should unmute myself before I start talking. Well, good afternoon, good evening, I should say, long from afternoon. Um, the Vikings just did not perform. They didn't perform in prime time. Cousins didn't show up. The defense didn't show up. And yeah, just nobody showed up. It seemed like everybody stayed in Minneapolis still celebrating the win from the Packers game. It almost seems like. So not an ideal way for the Vikings to start their road games for the 2022 season. But like I said in week one, let's not overreact in a loss. Let's not overreact in a win. There's two games. There's been two games. We've seen the good Vikings. We've seen the bad Vikings so far tonight, this season. So still a lot to improve upon, of course, as we saw in the game today. And but yeah, there was somebody that put out, and I don't want to be overly. I don't want to be overly negative, but I don't want to be overly positive either. I try to keep that kind of balance. But somebody had tweeted out that the Vikings, they went into Pittsburgh in week 2 and they lost pretty badly. Like it wasn't pretty, kind of the same type of game. And then they went 13-3, and obviously we know what happened at the end of the season. But the Vikings did that in 2017. They went 1-1, and then things turned around. So you Philadelphia fans, you behave yourselves. We got you your win. You behave yourselves now. Justin Jefferson did not play well. The Vikings just didn't play well at all. I will give you your credit. You guys played a fantastic game. You guys came out from start to finish, and yeah, defensively, Kirk could not get things going for the Vikings. So your defense obviously played really well. And so yeah, so just calm down though. Like I said, it's only 2 games. The Vikings, like I said, I've said this about the Vikings. The Vikings started 5-0, looked like they were on the road to the Super Bowl back in 2016, and then things fell off and they went 8-8. So that could still happen to Philadelphia. I don't think that will, but I'm just saying that crazy things happen. This is the NFL. This is the highest level of football in the world. So crazy things happen. Other teams figure out how to stop you, and then things. Yeah, I mean, we saw that happen to the Vikings this week. They didn't look like there was much going to be stopping them after week 1, and then here we are, week 2. A little reality check, little reality dose for the Vikings tonight. So, a couple of different things I thought that went well for the Vikings tonight, and there's not many. Ryan Wright punted well, and it disgusts me to say that because, like, if you're giving the punter the credit, like that, that's not a good thing. Cameron Dantzler made some good plays, and he made some good plays, but you saw him get benched there for a while, so that tells me that he wasn't doing enough in coverage if the Vikings were going to bench him like they did. So yeah, Gator H saying that Jalen Hurts is really good. Yeah, he is. He definitely looked better than Cousins. He looked like a top 5 type of quarterback tonight if he could stay healthy and keep performing like that. But obviously, he's still got a lot to continue to prove, and I think he will. But yeah, just a really tough performance. I would say those are the main 2 things that I liked about the Vikings. They were able to get some pressure at times, but even when they did get pressure, for the most part, Jalen Hurts was able to get out of the pressure, which I was fearful of coming into the game. And so that was bad. And then the secondary, obviously, the Bynum mishap in the back end. Yeah, you just can't have that. The Irv Smith drop, that was huge. I know they were down at the time, but if Irv Smith's able to come in with that ball and score a touchdown, that could change the entire momentum swing of the game. And also could have said that about the interception that Jordan Hicks had, but obviously there was only like 7 minutes left at that time. So would the touchdown, if the Vikings scored a touchdown there, made a difference? Probably not. If that Irv Smith touchdown, if that would have happened when he dropped the ball wide open down the field, that was a heck of a throw, I will say, by Cousins. That was a heck of a throw. And then it seemed like after that, Cousins just disappeared. He just went into a shell. He threw up to Jefferson, just trying to get him the ball, and it did not look good. Yeah, Kirk Cousins' greatest enemy is Monday nights. Yeah. It does seem like that at times for Kirk, for sure. He couldn't play with a quiet mind tonight. I know we've said that before, like, it seems like Kevin O'Connell was trying to get him to play with that quiet mind coming in to the season, because he knows that Kirk struggled with that in the past. But this is what we got from tonight. This is what we got from tonight. And then, of course, we got to add this in after week 1, and then getting our hopes up. And here we go, Vikings fans, people that have nice things. Eric Thompson on Twitter, great follow, by the way. He comes up with that little Venn diagram of the Vikings franchise history, basically. But it definitely was a tough loss. And like I said, I think Philadelphia is a top 3 team in the NFC right now. Like, the NFC, I will say, does not seem like a very deep conference right now. It seems pretty top heavy, with the Bucks and the Rams probably still, and then the Eagles and the Vikings and Packers kind of in that 4 to 5, 6 mix, somewhere in there. I'm not sold on the Saints, and everybody else is kind of like they could be okay, but San Francisco maybe is in the mix there too. But I still think it's the top 3, and that's kind of where the NFC is right now. But go ahead and comment, email me if you got thoughts on the game. Email, as I've got scrolling down there, skolpurplepodcast@gmail.com. Be respectful, and I ask that you don't swear. Just not big on swearing. Yeah, just if you want to talk about the game, feel free to go ahead and drop your email to me, and I'll send you a link. Skolpurplepodcast@gmail.com. But yeah, go ahead and leave a comment. What'd you think of the performance? What stood out to you? Yeah, I guess some other things that stood out to me. The Vikings defensive backs, like I said on some podcasts that I was a part of this past couple of days, it seemed like the Vikings didn't have much of a test for their defensive backs in week 1, because Rodgers got rid of the ball so quickly. And Hurts did do a lot of that tonight. He did get rid of the ball quickly, and Rodgers saw success with that in week 1, and Hurts saw success with that tonight as well. But also the fact that Philadelphia's offensive line is top 5. They were able to protect Jalen Hurts at times, and Hurts was able to throw dimes down the field because the Vikings corners couldn't hold up against Philadelphia's wide receiver room. So that's really what happened for the Vikings defensively. And then once the Philadelphia offense was able to roll with the passing game, the running game got going, and then you can't be stopped. Like when Philadelphia is making you guess defensively, and Troy Aikman, I know a lot of people criticize Troy and Joe, but Troy was 100% correct that it did not seem like Ed Donatel made any adjustments in that second half. Like, if you're going in at halftime, you should be making these adjustments and saying, hey, we got to play more press coverage. We got to do this, something different, like you can't go back out there with the same game plan that you had in that first half, because it didn't work. It flat out did not work, and it wasn't close at all. So that was poor. That was really poor. I think that's something that Ed Donatel, I think maybe he just thought that his game plan was going to work in the second half. His original game plan, things were going to turn around, but no, it was not the case. It was not the case. So, Captain Kazoo, Gator H, he wants to join, so I might send him a link. So, like I said, keep it nice. Don't be too crazy. Try not to swear if you would, please. And then yeah, try and be nice. Like I said, I gave your team props. You guys have a really good team. So, but yeah, like I said, any other questions, go ahead and drop them in. Dryce, my guy, is going to be hopefully joining here pretty soon. He's got to take a shower and stuff, but hopefully he'll join and give his thoughts on the game as well. But yeah, tough loss tonight for the Vikings. We'll get Gator in here. He's the one that's making the comments. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Vikings going forward. It looks like he's audio only. How's it
All
going?
right. All right. How's it going, fella? Look, I got to be honest with you. I feel bad. I feel a little bad because Kirk Cousins right now looks a little bit like a money pit. Just
Yeah.
saying. Monday Night Lights, maybe someone ought to buy him a pair of sunglasses with that money you're paying him. Just saying.
Wear
But
his sunglasses at night.
but I just also want to add Justin Jeffries. I hope to God you don't take Big Daddy Slay to court for all that child support, Because, oh, fella.
Yeah, it was a tough night for JJ. Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. In big play Slay, he came to play tonight. He for sure did. He for
It's a
sure did.
bad time when Vikings fans come to Philly, it seems. It always ends up that way. I remember there was that
Yeah,
news
you guys
report.
are never nice to us, even when you win. So.
There was that news report I saw where someone got their hat flipped into a urinal and peed on. Now, the person I know actually did that is my cousin. God bless my cousin. It was a great playoff game. Oh, wait, we're not in the NFC East, right? This is
You
just a
got you
wait.
guys are.
We're ruthless. I know.
Yeah. Yep.
It
Well, and
could be
I
worse.
know some people that were at that NFC Championship game, and they were saying that they were people trying to trip them constantly, and just absolute terrible. Like, I don't care how passionate you are, you need to show respect to other people, and I don't think that a lot of and maybe you're in the good Philly fans. I don't know you, but there's definitely some that do not respect other fan bases.
Never got into a fight at an Eagles tailgate. Phillies tailgate, I slapped two fans of the Padres in the face. That was the only fight I've ever gotten into for any Philly team. And I would say I would fight for the Flyers, but at this point, I would throw a fire on them and watch that part of Wells Fargo burn to the ground. And maybe we could use it for, I don't know, field hockey. Doesn't that sound fun?
I'm not a big hockey guy, but
Uh,
sure.
yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to add before I let you go, man?
I just want to say this is one last comment. Just remember, at least your franchise doesn't use washed up Philly quarterbacks.
Yeah, we never had Donovan McNabb, right?
You never had McNabb. You never had good old Wentz. I don't think you guys had Fold.
We did have McNabb.
Oh, God, you
Actually, I
did.
was joking about that. We did have McNabb, but we haven't had Wentz. We didn't have Foles.
Wow, that's how
So
unmemorable McNabb is sometimes.
yeah, that was a disaster. Along with many other Vikings quarterbacks. But that's just pretty normal. But anyways, all right, man. Well, hey, thanks for popping in, and congrats on your win. Okay,
Thanks, fella. Have a good one.
you
Hopefully
too.
next week.
Yeah,
Hopefully next week.
that's right. That's right. There you go. Well, appreciate him joining, and now we got to bring in my guy, Dryce. How you feeling, man? It's not too great of a feeling tonight, huh?
No, not a good feeling at all. I was kind of keeping expectations low going into
Hmm.
the season. I got a little jacked up, fired up after that Packers game. But we're about as low as we get right now, so I suppose we can go as up. But yeah, not good. Not good at all.
What are some things that you liked about the game for the Vikings, which there's not much? But what are some things you liked? What are some things you didn't like about the game?
Yeah, not many positives. Um, I guess one of them had a good sack. Uh, Always good to have good edge depth, I guess. Um, I think the tight ends played well, other than uh, some drops. Obviously, the drops aren't good, but I think they showed that they're talented, they're capable. Good to see Irv get a touchdown. He was terrible Munt kind of seems to hang around and be effective and kind of do what he's asked to do, but not good. A lot more bad than good, and I'm sure we'll get to the bad.
Yeah, yeah. It seemed like there was a few good things. Ryan Wright I mentioned, and I hate saying that a punter plays well. Like it's not a good game when you have to compliment the punter on what he's doing.
Yeah.
As an Iowa fan, you and I both know how that has gone. So, but yeah, it just seemed like from start to finish that they did not come to play. Like, and
No.
and it and it and it seemed like Kirk Cousins. He didn't seem like he was that bad in the first half. I didn't think. Like, yeah, maybe a few checkdowns here and there, what he should have thrown down the field, but I didn't think he was bad in the first half. And then in the second half, whatever happened, like he would get pressure and he would just panic. Like he just looked like a rookie quarterback out there at times in that second half.
Yeah. I don't want to be the guy to take the one game
Right.
sample size for Cousins because I mean,
He could easily bounce back and have a great game next week for sure.
yeah, and I feel like either
We've seen
people
it.
hate Cousins or they love him, and the people that hate him can point to games X, Y, Z, and he's terrible, terrible, terrible quarterback. And then the people that love him and think he deserves 150 million guaranteed, they can point to these games, that I'm sure he'll have this season, and he's great. But at the end of the day, that's just who Cousins is. Like he's 34 years old, and some people think there's still some warrant out on him. Like I was reading through comments today, and obviously there's a lot of crap to sift through there when people get emotional and want to blame this or that and whatever. But like he's 34, and we still have these questions. We still are not sure if he's the guy or if he can win a big game. And
Yep.
yeah, I feel like nobody thinks he's going to be able to win a Super Bowl, nor can he. I feel like that's kind of what we knew going into Cousins when we got him from Washington. That's why there was a lot of people skeptical of it. I feel like we haven't
Yep.
really seen a whole lot to prove that different. I don't want to take like the full scale Cousins the last 4 years, but I just feel like it's
Yep.
just what it is. Like I think him and Wentz play very similarly. People might disagree with that, but like some games Wentz is great, and then some games he's terrible. It's just all a matter of the ones that you watch. Like if you watched the Colts last year, you could have these games where you're like, "Wow, Colts are great. Jonathan Taylor's crazy. Wentz is good," and then you have games like the Jaguars that you're like, "What happened there?" But
Right.
that's just like that's who these guys are, and he's like 34 years old. Like he's an old quarterback. Like Russell Wilson's 34 years old. He's won a Super Bowl. He's been better than Kirk Cousins every year he's been in the league. And honestly, I don't know if the Broncos should feel like outstandingly confident that he's the guy.
Yeah.
So it's like that's Russell Wilson. This is Kirk Cousins. I think I said on the podcast earlier this offseason, I've always been a gigantic Kwesi fan. Wanted him from before we even fired Spielman. But I did say once he extended Kirk, that was my first move where I was like, what are we doing here? I don't want to
Yep.
pin it all on Kirk because everything was bad. The
Yep.
coaches shouldn't get a pass. Kirk shouldn't get a pass. Defense shouldn't get a pass. Donatel shouldn't get a pass. I mean, like,
Did this seem to you like it was another Mike Zimmer type of game, like a Mike Zimmer Vikings type of game? It just had that vibe to me.
100%. And if I have my feelings for Zimmer, I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't think he was bad at the end. I think he was good. I think he would have been better without Cousins being here just because that's how he wins his money in the defense and all that. And it got bad at the end. It got toxic. He didn't like Kirk. It all boiled over and not here. And obviously Spielman wasn't good. He made a lot of bad moves. He was fine for a while, drafted great players, some Hall of Famers, great, some gold purple jacket for us wears,
Yep.
that's great. But it seems like Spielman got the blame and Zimmer got the blame, and then people just kind of brush past Kirk Cousins as if like he's not anything to blame here. And it's like, I don't know. It's just such a weird thing because like I feel like Spielman was pretty average, especially at the end. Zimmer was probably slightly below average. I think we won. I think we were just about 500 last year. I mean, but that's what Cousins has always been here. He's never been great. He's been bad at times. He's been good at times.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just frustrating. It's more of just like one of those losses where you kind of just come back to like ground zero and you're like, okay, here's what we got. And we're pretty far off yet. And for a team that we don't have an older roster, but we got guys like Dalvin and Daniil who probably won't win with the Vikings, and they're, you know, assuming Cousins leaves and we turn a page and go to a young guy, like they probably will never see us, even get to the like FC Championship here. So I don't know. It's just tough. And I feel like if
All
Zimmer
right.
coached this game, like people would be so mad.
Okay.
And I get
All right.
these guys. What's that?
Hey, Too Evil, Too Hope. Hey, I don't think Cousins played well tonight, man. That's not called for, man. I think I think you're a little too emotional right now. That's a little too much. But this is an interesting question, just based on how well the Lions have played so far this season. Um, I think we could see the Vikings lose to the Lions. I think I said in my mind at the beginning of the year 4-2 in the division. I think they lose to Green Bay the second time, and I think they lose one of the Detroit games. But I do think that this will be the game where they win. I do think they bounce back on Sunday. I just don't see. I mean, not that I couldn't see them losing, because if it goes back to exactly how it was this week, but um, I don't think it's time to go that far yet. Too evil, too hope. Um, if we start to see these losses pile up like this before the trade deadline, then things maybe should be considered. But I don't think you can trade JJ. I don't think you can trade Hunter. I think if anybody, you're going to start to trade the veterans, the guys that have been here 10 years or whatever, like the Harrison Smiths and that kind of thing. But that's still a long ways off yet, man. Like I said, I'm still confident in my 10-7 playoffs. Maybe win one playoff game, probably lose the second. Vikings finishing second in the division. I think Green Bay wins it 11-6, and the Vikings 10-7. But yeah, obviously this doesn't feel good. It makes you, like I said, reminds me of the Vikings last year with Mike Zimmer. It really does. It reminded me of one of those games. And it sucks, but I still think I'm interested to see how the Vikings adjust from this game, because obviously they were not only outplayed, they were outplayed, they were outcoached, and they were out energized. Like, it didn't seem like they had the energy. It seemed like the crowd almost sucked the energy right out of them. Almost, I don't know, but it just didn't feel right. And I kind of had that feeling coming in. I was kind of like, I don't know, this game, like, this just historically, this type of game has always given the Vikings trouble, but it's also given Kirk Cousins trouble against a team that's 1-0 or a team that's above 500 in prime time. It's something that the Vikings and Kirk Cousins have struggled with. Defense held up in the second half. Yeah, the defense didn't do too poorly in the second half. They still did give up some big plays. They did allow some big runs. But yeah, Kirk, like I said earlier in this live stream, you'll have to go back and listen to the full thing, Too Evil, Too Hope. Um, but I will say this. I think Kirk Cousins does have one of those games every year. It just seems like he's got maybe even two or three of them where he just plays like that, like he did tonight. And like I said, I didn't think he played too bad in that first half. I guess I'm curious on your thoughts, Trice, but things just absolutely went down south in that second half. Like, he just looked like I said, he looked like a rookie quarterback out there, rattled by pressure, didn't know what to do, so he just chucked it up to Jefferson, hoping he would come down with it. Like, and it almost kind of reminds you of Case Keenum, like how he was. He was chucking things up a lot in that 2017 season. Obviously, a lot of them were caught, but What are your thoughts?
I think he did play okay. He did get pressured a lot. Like, I mean, on that last pick, he had pressure in his face. He threw off his back foot. So like that wasn't great. I don't know. I think they just played him really well where Jets was open. I feel like we do have a lot of talent outside of Jets. Um, Obviously, Thielen, he was quiet tonight, but then we have um, KJ Osborne and Dalvin and those guys, and we still couldn't get anything done. So I don't know. I don't think the O-line played great. Philly's got a tough D line, but I don't know. Again, I don't want to like put a bunch of crap on Kirk Cousins, but I just feel like it's like you should be able to overcome some stuff like that. And Kirk's the guy who like historically can't. But he played okay. I think if you play that game 10 times, it's one of his worst ones. But I don't know. I feel like that is who he is. Like he's probably gonna throw for 400 yards and 2, 3 touchdowns like next week. And I don't know. He's just very. It's just a roller coaster. He's either good or he's bad. But I feel like when the limelight's on him, he's never like historically good. So it just kind of sucks to root
Yep.
for and to go into big games and to get your hopes up and like see this product that's looks good to you and then just always comes back to be bad, either if it's in the playoffs or a Monday night football game or Sunday night or so I don't know, it's just frustrating. Kind of just frustrating. I don't know. It's just like the worst position I feel like you can be in just from like kind of purgatory ish, good
Yep.
enough to be good, bad enough to not be great or whatever. I don't know.
Yep.
But he played good. Nobody played great. Jefferson got bodied a couple times, and I don't know. It's hard to know who was on a lot of times, but I don't know.
And you know what? I'm curious to see, like, if I don't have access to the all 22, but I might want to do that. Um, just because I'm curious to see if Jefferson was open more than it seemed, because it didn't seem like he was open much. And I wonder if there were times. Well, we saw the one Troy Aikman pointed it out where Cousins dumped it off and Jefferson was open down the sideline. Like there was that one that he pointed out. It's
Yeah,
like, what are you doing? Like there was so many times that Kirk was a first read quarterback tonight. He knew he was going to the guy on the screen. Philadelphia snuffed it out most of the night. Like they saw it coming. There was a few times I was like, holy cow, I could have seen that one coming too. Like I just and that's another thing. I was disappointed in some of the play calling, and some of it might just be that Kirk went to the check down, but it seemed like there was a lot of screens, and that's not something I want to see. I'm just so sick of it. Like I don't mind it, 2 to 3 times a game, but when it's every other play like it was tonight, you can't have that. You're not going to win doing that.
yeah, and I think in week one we got really creative with Jets. I feel like he's a guy you don't need to get creative with, just because he's one of the best receivers, if not the best in the league. We did like motion and got him the ball in creative ways. I remember he said after the game last week, like, I don't know how I got so open, but they were just having these concepts that had the safeties guard 3 guys and there's 2 safeties, so somebody's gonna be open. It was Jets, so like he was open a lot last week. I just didn't feel like we dialed those looks up, which is fine because you can win anywhere and doing anything. So it's just one of those games. I don't know. Sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seems like I said, I'm going to probably say this all week. It just seemed like one of those classic Mike Zimmer stinkers of a game. Like and obviously Kirk too, but it just seemed like it gave me that Mike Zimmer vibes. Like it's just like, "Oh, what is going on? Like you were out coached terribly in this game." And like I said, I am interested to see how the Vikings bounce back after this, because I do think this coaching staff is good. I do. And I just want them to go out and prove it next week. I want them to make the adjustments that need to be made, and I want them to go and show why I do have faith in them and why we should have faith in them and why the Vikings ultimately hired them. Like You didn't hire a coach to win 17 games in a regular season every year, because that doesn't happen hardly ever. You hired a coach to be able to, when you do lose games, come back the next week and forget about what happened. Remember what you need to improve on, but forget about what the outcome was. Go out there, forget it, and put it all on the line and try and win next week.
Yeah, and the FC is wide open this year. So after week 1, I was like, "There's a shot. We could take this thing." Like Bucks look to be down up front, so a lot of teams could capitalize off that. I feel like every team's got their holes, but now we're just back to the drawing board of like, well, like I don't know. Another thing too, like
I will say too, Dries, I'll let you finish here in a second. It seems like to me, that the Vikings do not match up well with Philadelphia, like in terms of a strength versus strength type of a matchup. Like the Vikings just don't match up well with them. Like the Vikings have a quarterback that struggles under pressure at times. He didn't struggle as bad last week, which is interesting. But then this week he struggled. And then the Eagles have a cornerback that can match up with Justin Jefferson like he did tonight. The Eagles have a really good top 5 type of offensive line. The Vikings have 2 really solid pass rushers, but when those guys aren't generating pass rush, then what happens? And the cornerbacks, they weren't really tested in week 1, I didn't think. And they were tested tonight, and they got burnt at times throughout the night. Obviously, Bynum on that big play down the field as well. But too evil to hope. I agree. I've agreed with. I know that's the Phil Mackey quote of "just works here, guy." I do often think that's the case, and I am interested to go listen and watch the post game press conferences and see how much blame some of these guys are taking and all this. But I am still worried about this team. And like I said, I do think it was a matchup nightmare, so to speak, for the Vikings. What do you think on that?
yeah, I would agree for the most part. I think J Brown is just tough to defend, and then I feel like Devontae Smith was getting open at will. He led their team in receiving. I think he had the most receiving yards in the game. I think their game plan was more so personnel wise. I don't know how much better their team is than ours. Um, it might be a little bit better, but I don't think it's too far off, especially for what the scoreboard reflected it to be. I think I was worried about it initially. We brought in Ed Donatel. He's an older guy. He's been under Fangio. Didn't want to make like a generalization about him, but he's an older guy. I didn't know if he'd be stubborn, not willing to get off of spin or adjust. And like tonight, he just wasn't willing to adjust at all, and it just cost us so bad. Like Hurts started off like 14 for 15 with like 200 yards and anything he wanted. And when we're playing that pie safety, they'll just paper cut us like every time. And I guess that's just like his core philosophy, just hoping that they fumble or have a penalty or do this or that. And I don't hate that, but like, I mean, I feel like every one of our flaws got just like very much
Yep.
put on the
Exposed.
spectrum today. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. I think we'll bounce
100%.
back. I think we'll be fine. That's what we do. Like that's what Kirk Cousins does. Like he's gonna have better games. He's gonna be fine. But like ultimately, I feel like we'll be watching a game at the end of the season in the playoffs, and we'll be playing some team, and it's gonna look not as bad as what it did today, but it's gonna look something like this, and people are gonna be pissed. And I don't know.
Yep.
Seems like it just happens every year, and then Kirk plays good for the most part of the season, so his stats are good, and then people want him to get extended again, and we're just going through this constant loop of like, I don't know.
Yep.
I feel like today's loss, if we could just bury it and we had actual hope and potential, like an actual Super Bowl contender, I wouldn't overreact like this. But it's more just like looking at our team, like we can only make it so far with these players and these coaches. I feel like.
Well,
So
and
it's just
here's the thing too. It's like Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah said in the offseason, a competitive rebuild. We saw the competitive side week 1. Now we're kind of in the seeing the rebuild side of it. And for Two Evil, Two Hope, here's what I'll say about Jimmy G. I don't think Jimmy G fades away in these types of games. Not that the Vikings would have won if Jimmy G was the quarterback. I don't think that's the case, but I think it would have been a closer game. That's all I'll say on that. I think Kirk has more talent than Jimmy G for sure, but I think Jimmy G has the ability to make the plays when he needs to in the fourth quarter in games like this, and Kirk Cousins does not always have that ability or does not prove it. Yeah, no, I understand. It's easy to get emotional, but yeah, no, it's just one of those things where next week all the Kirk stands will be like, yeah, here we go. Kirk's back, throws for 300 yards and 3 tutties against the Lions. Maybe not. Maybe like Two Evil, Two Hope says, maybe Kirk Cousins will get dismantled by Aiden Hutchinson. I think if the Lions were smart next week, I'd put Aiden Hutchinson inside at times just because going against Brian O'Neill is going to be tougher for him. But I do think I like that matchup better for the Vikings offensive line perspective because Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis, which I don't think I really saw much of Jordan Davis, but I saw Fletcher Cox getting pressure constantly tonight. And that was on the interior. Garrett Bradbury, Ed Ingram. Ed Ingram still has his struggles, man. Like, I know a lot of people said, yeah, he played well week 1, and he did in the run game. But that pass pro, man, you got to shore that up in week 2.
Yeah, and I'm happy to have a rookie out there that shows flashes and has stuff he can get better on, and you can watch that and learn from that and do all that. Which is also why I was very confused. We saw Bynum get toasted numerous times today, and we saw no Lewis Seen. I don't know what Lewis or what Bynum does that's better than Lewis Seen. Maybe they're just saving it. They want him to know a certain amount of stuff before he gets in there, but I mean, I don't think
why they didn't
Bynum's
bring him in the last quarter of the game. Like, why not?
Yeah.
They brought a Caleb Evans. I don't know if you saw that, and Cam Dantzler almost kind of got benched there after a while. And like Dantzler, he had that one good series where he did some good things other than the penalty. But I wasn't impressed with Dantzler. I wasn't impressed with Bynum tonight. And Patrick Peterson wasn't great either. There was one time when he kind of got off of a guy and allowed an easy reception. So just a lot of, like I said, in a couple of podcasts I was on the other day, like the secondary still concerns me. I was not ready to hand Cam Bynum that starting job, and I think he's still going to be an okay safety, but I'm still not ready to crown him the starter for many years to come, and I'm still not ready to say that this secondary, the cornerbacks, it's going to be a great year for the Vikings corners. I still need to see more, and tonight was not a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, and I feel like at this point it's okay to admit that we're not gonna go 14-2 and win the Super Bowl. So it's fair to put Lewis Seen out there if you think he's 80% of Bynum, just to get that guy, because he's going to be around for when you're hoping to be good, in my opinion, at least.
And not that Bynum won't be, but
yeah, and the same goes for Booth and a Caleb Evans and those guys. They have the athletic profile to be good. Get them out there, like give them their time to learn and give them like real game reps that you can coach them on and give them teaching moments. And in this, those guys got insane amounts of potential. They're long. They look like NFL corners. They fit every athletic profile that you want. So I feel like just get them out there for better or for worse. Just see what they got, because Pat P's a good leader and he's great, and we're gonna need him. He's gonna play, but even a guy like Pat P, like he's not gonna be around for if we do win a Super Bowl in the next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not gonna win it this year, or probably next year, maybe in 5 years, and he won't be there for that. So
Just
I don't
keep
know.
pushing it back, right? Next year.
Yeah. My thing too is like I don't want to keep going back on Cousins. I feel like I've talked about him a lot, and he's a good player. I just think it's so sad seeing like a great coach in an organization like Andy Reid and the Chiefs, or like Kyle Shanahan, the Niners, see Jimmy G go to the Super Bowl, take him to the NFC Championship, and see like Alex Smith do great things for him, lead him to an NFC Championship game, like play tough and honestly play better and take those teams farther than Kirk Cousins has, and then just kind of see like this. I don't know. I think it's just like we're happy with just like satisfactory 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins, and it's
Yeah.
just like crappy. I just never want to be mediocre, and some people might say that's better than being crappy, but I mean, at least if we're crappy, we can get a shot at a quarterback, or I don't know.
Well, and like what he said, Too Evil, Too Hope said earlier about time to tank for Bryce Young, I do think that the Vikings need to draft their quarterback of the future this year. I do. Like, if you're going to keep Kirk for another year after this, you've got to have somebody to replace him in 2024. We can't go into 2024 saying, "Oh no, who's our quarterback? Kirk's contract's expired. What are we going to do?" We've got to have a plan because we've been in this situation before. You know it better than better than a lot of people do. I know it better than a lot of people do. Like, the Vikings have gone into too many years where they have not planned ahead at quarterback, and it's cost them multiple times. Well, I guess we're gonna have to start Christian Ponder. I guess we're gonna have to, after drafting him, and it's not that Christian Ponder. It's not that Christian Ponder, obviously didn't turn out, but the fact that you didn't really get much of a chance to sit behind a good quarterback, and I'm not saying Kirk is really good, but he's got some qualities that you could learn from if you're a young quarterback. And that's what they tried with Kellen Mond, and it didn't work out. But it'll be interesting to see if they can actually draft somebody. And honestly, they need to give up the draft capital. I'm ready to give up a first round pick or two. And Samantha was better at QB than Christian. If he can't be protected better, he's going to get injured. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
He's pretty tough, though. I mean, he's played just about every season he's been in, so I will give him props there. The best.
He's tough.
Abilities.
Maybe not
and on
so
the
much
rookie
mentally,
quarterback
but...
thing, yeah, we're thinking way too ahead, probably. But I think if you're going to get a guy, like, get him now, because Thielen is in the back half of his career, and you got to juice those good years out because he's a great number 2 at this point still, even though he hasn't been good this year. Statistically, Jets is probably the best receiver in the league. Osborne's a great number 3, and we got these guys and Cook, like, just a plethora of talent, and the O-line is starting to get rebuilt. I think they're playing better than they have in prior years. So I just think get a guy and put him in here, get him with a young coach. I think that's the whole reason you got a young offensive head coach, was just to have continuity. And we had this revolving door at quarterback and offensive coordinator, and it's just a train wreck to try to get like potential out of the position if you have that. So I don't know, kind of a full circle loss for me, where it's just like, I think it's like that iconic clip where it's like, we are who we thought they were type thing. But yeah. I don't know. It's just very deflating knowing we're going to be 10-6 and probably win a playoff game and lose our second, or
yep.
I don't know. Just seems very predictable. There's no, even the Lions, like, Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback than Jared Goff, but at least there's the warrant's kind of out on them. Like, who knows what the Lions could be? They got one of the best run games in the league. They are tough. The defense plays tough.
Their offensive line's pretty solid.
Yeah, and like you could say the same thing about the Vikings with Case Keenum that year. Like they're frisky, like they run the ball, they play good defense, like they just hang around and they're annoying in games enough that they can have some crazy play and they'll win it. Like I just don't feel like we have that with this team, and it kind of just sucks. I don't know.
Thinks this is Thielen's last year. I could see the Vikings saying that this is the year that he needs to be gone, but I don't know. I haven't looked at his cap hit for next year because if his cap hit's still really big, like a dead cap, like the dead cap for his contract next year still might be pretty large. I don't know if you can get off of that because if it's like 15 million or 10 million even, like do you really want to cut bait with that? Like I think you'd have to keep him at that point. But if you're able, if there's not much dead money next year to able to hope, then I'd be for moving on from him if you can get some good draft pick compensation. I was kind of more on the rebuild fully this year. Keep your studs, that the stud young players, but then trade away some of the older veterans like a Harrison Smith, like an Eric Kendricks, like an Adam Thielen. As much as I hate to say it, because obviously we got great memories. We've got some of those guys' jerseys in our place. I've got a Harrison Smith jersey, so it does hurt me to say that a little bit. But at the same time, when are we going to start to realize, okay, it's time to look ahead to the future and fully stock up on picks and get things rolling in that direction? But I do think it's too early to mail in this season. But if they do go 10-7, if they win a playoff game, like yay, that's a good first season. But at the same time, you look at the flip side and you're like, well, is that the goal? We just want to go win a playoff game? What are we, the Twins now? Like, we want to go win the Super Bowl. Like, that's the goal here. Like, what are we
Yeah.
doing?
And
Like,
honestly, personally, I'd rather be 2-14 than just win one playoff game. I hate that. It's fun and I enjoy it and I get my hopes up and it's fun. Like that win feels so good, even if we get smacked the next week, which we always do. But like, I just feel like we've just had so much of that, and it's just like, here we go again.
there's no in between. Either the Vikings get smacked or they lose a heartbreaker in the NFC Championship game. There's no in between.
Yeah.
No in between. But
I don't know. I just want to look at a Vikings team and not know exactly what they're going to do. I feel like that's what I have with this team. I mean, I don't want to say it'd be better off, but even if we had like, say like a Malik Willis in the wings, like maybe he's good. Maybe he's the worst quarterback in the league. Who knows? But like, I feel like I've seen just this consistent product the past 4 years that's absolute mediocre, right in the middle, dead average. Like,
if the
there's a good
Titans
year,
lose
there's
another
a bad
game, they
year.
might be thinking about putting Willis in.
I know, and it's just like, give me some hope, give me some curiosity, or some like blind, like, you know.
But Dries, I said this in week one. You gotta slow your roll. Like I said, week one, I was like, okay, that's great. Beating Green Bay at home. Everything looked great. Awesome. Okay, now week two, let's go out and prove it again. Hey, we're a good team, and they didn't do that. They didn't do that. They
Yeah.
got their, what kicked tonight. But here's the thing. Again, it's only one game. You're 1-1. There's 15 games left in this season. Like, you can't go home and cry about it and think the season's over after one loss. However, like I said, there were a lot of flaws that the Vikings have, and you and I talked about it already. There's a lot of flaws the Vikings have that were exposed tonight. The interior of the offensive line wasn't great. Kirk Cousins in primetime games gets rattled, is not able to perform up to expectation. The defense just absolutely choked tonight. The corners weren't good. They didn't get enough pass rush because the offensive line for Philadelphia is really good. And then you go into the wide receivers like Jefferson. Didn't seem like he performed very well tonight. I'm going to call him out. And I think he'd probably say the same thing. But again, you got to credit Darius Slay. You got to credit the Eagles for being able to cover him well. But at the same time, like, you got to rise up in those moments, some of those moments. And I think some of the throws that Cousins obviously made in that second half weren't good, but yeah, it's gotta there's gotta be a rebound in this team, and I'm interested to see how it goes next week because, like I said, this is where you were hired to be the head coach. This is where your coaching staff was hired to come in, fix it now. Like, you can't obviously fix everything in 1 week. You can't fix all your problems by playing a different game, but what you can do is you can tighten up those things. You can scheme around some of these things, help yourself out. And I said earlier, one of the most disappointing things about the defense tonight was Ed Donatel. He didn't change the game plan. He didn't do anything to change the game plan at halftime. Troy Aikman called him out. I 100% agree. What the heck, man? What's going on? We need to see something different. That first half was atrocious. You're telling me you're running the same scheme out there in the second half? What the heck?
Yeah. I think the worst part, I don't want to react to this game, and I don't react to like one game sample size. I think the worst part was, I think after last week, there was at least some glimmer of hope that was like, I'm not saying these guys aren't going to be good at all, but like maybe Kevin O'Connell's like McVay's clone, and maybe Donatel's Fangio's clone. And I just think, I don't know. I feel like we know what we have, and it's like 10 wins in a playoff game, and it just kind of sucks. But
Bradbury needs to be run out of town. Yeah, I agree. I think it was an ignorant thing that the Vikings didn't go and get JC Treader, and it was all politics. I don't care what anybody says about his knees. It was all politics of the NFLPA, him being the president. Give me a break. Who cares what he's the president of? Get him on your offensive line. He's 10 times better than Garrett Bradbury with even one leg. Come on. Like, seriously. Like, it's not even close. Like, why is Bradbury on this team and JC Treader is not a center in the league? Like, I don't care. Right now, JC Treader off his couch would be better than Garrett Bradbury. I have no doubt in my mind.
yeah,
But anyways, unless you have anything you wanted to say on that, Dries, but
yeah, I don't know. I think Bradbury's kind of what he's been to. I guess that's just all I'm trying to say. Is just it's just kind of what it has been. Like you said, just like a Mike Zimmer loss. I think just the most deflating thing is it just is like, oh, we're still the Vikings. Bradbury still sucks. Like Dantzler has his moments that are bad.
see,
Cousins has moments that are as bad. I don't know.
and the thing that maybe is most concerning is like I expected these flaws to be exposed tonight. Like I picked the Vikings to lose this game, but I did not expect the flaws to be exposed this badly. Like it was bad. Like all the flaws that I had expressed coming in pretty much to this game, like it all was exposed and it was exposed really bad. And my dad kept saying this throughout the game. He's like, very fortunate that it wasn't worse. It wasn't like a 38-7 in the NFC Championship game or even worse than that based on how badly we played in the game tonight. So it's yeah, they got to bounce back next week. Like I said, flush it, get back on track next week. But it's obviously going to leave a sour taste in your mouth. I mentioned earlier on this live stream, Dries, you weren't here, but there was somebody that posted, of course, an optimistic Vikings fan, Minnesota sports fan, but there was somebody that posted, hey, you know, we lost to a team in Pennsylvania in week 2 of 2017 that it wasn't a pretty game, and then we went and won 13 games, so 12 games after that. But obviously, I don't think that's going to happen, but I still have them at 10-7 playoff game. But again, like I said, should that be our goal? Should it be our goal to win a playoff game? Should be our goal to win the freaking Super Bowl, man. The Super Bowl.
Yeah,
That's the goal. Last I checked, you don't get participation trophies for winning a playoff game. So
yeah. And the
that's
last regime got cleared out for just winning a playoff game. So I hope that's they want to do better than that. But it seems like that's just where they're headed right now, which is fine. And I'm gonna enjoy the crap out of that playoff game. But
yep.
it just is. It's just like I don't know. I feel like if Kirk Cousins is a quarterback, I just feel like it's just like 10 wins and playoff game, maybe a win, maybe a loss. And I don't want to keep going back on that. It's just like, ugh, he just played so bad. And yeah,
Bring back Keenum. Hey, I will say too evil, too hope. I do think it was the right move to move on from Keenum. Just because I do think it was an aberration that year. Like, he had the best year of his career, hasn't done anything since, and maybe he hasn't had a full starting opportunity, but he did have a leadership quality that season that Kirk Cousins does not have. I will 100% tell you that. We got all kinds of participation trophies, man.
plus
Yep.
the year we got Kirk, I was hammering the table for it watching the draft live, but we took Mike Hughes. 2 picks later, Lamar goes, and I wanted Lamar so bad.
Oh man.
I just feel like there's so many even like Jalen Hurts. We could have Jalen Hurts, and he's great. Looks
Could have had Malik Willis. Yeah.
more
Could
fun
have.
than Cousins. I don't know.
Yeah. It's
Just the life of a Vikings fan.
that's the life, man. I put up this graphic earlier, and I think it's definitely time again.
Oh yeah.
Here we go. The Venn diagram that Eric Thompson has put out on Twitter multiple times. Vikings fans and people that have nice things. And then, of course, you got this. I did a lot of that tonight. But hey, you know what? It's one game. As much as I'm upset about it, we can recover from this. We can go and win next week against Detroit. Am I saying that's 100% going to happen? No, because Detroit's a much better team than they were last year, and we lost to them once last year and almost lost to them twice last year. And so don't take next week for granted as a win, but I do think the Vikings will win next week. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if we're sitting here again and we're like, what's going on? But being at home next week does give me a little bit more confidence. I will say that. But yeah. So anything else that sticks out to anybody in the comments section? We're probably going to wrap things up here pretty quick. With how bad our quarterbacks have been throughout the years, the fact that we don't take one early in the draft every year until we found one is a curious strategy. Yeah, 100%. You saw what the Chiefs did with Mahomes and Alex Smith. You've seen what other teams have done. Yeah, with Josh Allen, that situation. Yeah. What
I
were you
will
saying?
say, I feel like I just said and Lance and Jimmy G too. I don't know. Jimmy G made Super Bowl and NFC Championship, and Kirk's probably a better quarterback, but they still replaced him. So it's just like very depressing watching this all just continue. But it's all good. I'll enjoy the season yet. We'll still be good. We'll still be above 500. I think for how we handled free agency this year, I think we'll add more talent next year. Hopefully, we add a quarterback. But yeah.
Yeah, hey man, appreciate you tuning in. We'll forgive you for that comment earlier. But yeah, no, we don't want to wish any personal harm on anybody. We just are commenting on their performance on the football field. It doesn't have anything to do with them as a person. We just like to talk. We just want to see, I don't want to steal the Purple Daily slogan, but we do want to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl before we die. So, and all these Vikings fans that just want to sit there and just, not be critical of the team. Really, you're not helping the team, and I'm not saying we're helping the team by being critical either, but it's better to do that than just support a losing effort every time. Like, I mean, obviously we're going to watch, but we don't want to see this team go, 7-10, like you said, obviously, but like I said, I do think it will be better, hopefully, going in the next couple of weeks here. So, if I die, I die. So I'm not totally at fault. Yeah, I get that. But yeah, but anyways, Dryce, any last comments from you before we sign off here for the day?
I'll just hit a quick little last thought. Um, well, let's just hope that we can somehow um, rekindle Sean McVay's first season with Jared Goff when he went to the Super Bowl. Don't think that's going to happen at all. Suppose that's up for this season. As for after, give me Bryce Young, give me C.J. Stroud. I want to see them boys toting the rock with Dalvin and
Spend the
throwing it
capital
to
and get them.
Jets. Yeah, go get those guys. Give me hope again as a Viking fan. I want to be let down. I want to be hurt. I'm not hurt with a Kirk Cousins led team because I just know what it is. And it's good some games, bad some games. You win 8, 9, 10 games, and then you just lose in the playoffs. It's just what it is. I don't want to be all Debbie Downer, but it just sucks. I want to be that 9-year-old who's crying in my parents' bedroom after we lose to the Saints in the NFC Championship. That's what I want to be, and I don't know, as much as Christian Ponder sucked, I want to be, 12-year-old, 10-year-old when we drafted him and see how he's going to be the next, like, John Elway. But I don't know. It just feels like it's hard to root for a team that you feel like has set boundaries that's 10 wins in a playoff game. But
Yep.
I don't know. Better times are ahead. I will say I love Kwesi. I love O'Connell. Donatel, the word's still out on him. He has good games and bad games, but I
Yep.
think we have the core pieces where we need to have the core pieces. I think after Kirk's 2 years, they will find somebody that is a guy. And to have a former NFL quarterback and a offensive coordinator who is under McVay and under all these other good offensive guys, I think it's going to be the perfect situation for a quarterback. Let's just everybody say a prayer tonight that Justin Jefferson doesn't request a trade like Stephon Diggs did. We saw Diggs go absolutely berserk tonight. So let's keep Jefferson in Minnesota, and if he requests a trade, I might request a trade too because he's about all that I'm cheering
Yeah,
for on
I tell you
Sundays.
what, there was somebody that mentioned that tonight. Like, if Jefferson is the one that requests a trade just because it's Kirk, because of Kirk, I don't think it's going to be because of O'Connell. I don't. I think it'd be because of Kirk, because I honestly do believe that was part of the reason Diggs left, and because of Zimmer wanting to run the ball first. But
Yeah,
if Kirk can't figure it out and Justin Jefferson wants out, it'll be time to get rid of Kirk. I don't care if you have to cut him. Get rid of him, because
oh yeah,
Justin Jefferson is too good of a player to let walk. I don't care. You can't.
if
If
Jets
you're
told
going to
me
trade him, you need two to three first round picks at minimum, and I still would hate to do that.
if Jets told me he's thinking about asking for a trade, I would tell Kirk to not even bother coming to the tarmac, and we'll give him his 80 million guaranteed in 2 years. That's fine. I think Nick Mullins throwing to Justin Jefferson and the other weapons we have would ultimately be a better product than Kirk throwing to a non-Justin Jefferson Vikings team. So
Yep. Hey, I think you might be onto something there. Too Evil, Too Hope. We might have to watch the Minneapolis Miracle again to get reinvigorated for this team after this performance. But very good. Like I said, let's flush it. Let's get ready for the Lions. Like I said, not an easy opponent at all. They're going to come in. They're going to be wanting to get the Vikings again. You watch. But we need to come in with a good game plan. We can't go out with the same look that we did against Philadelphia tonight. We've got to be able to make adjustments on the fly and at halftime. And so I am confident, until proven otherwise, that this coaching staff is able to do that. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens on Sunday. And hopefully, can we sack the Goff? Hopefully so. Hopefully we get to him a couple times. But I will say Detroit's offensive line is looking pretty good so far this season. So, well, Dries, hey, appreciate you joining me. Appreciate everybody hopped on tonight for any length of time. We appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe, Skol Purple Podcast here on YouTube, and then also follow us on social media at Skol Purple Pod. We will probably have another episode either tomorrow or at some point this week, to be determined. So make sure to let us invigorate your love for the Vikings or tear it down, one of the two, here at some point this week. So thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. And as always, Skol.